2. My name is Jill and I'm coming to you from Perth, Western Australia, and this is the first episode of my podcast, The Grey Nomad Knits. You can find me as JillyMG on Instagram, JillyMG60 on Instagram, or just JillyMG on Ravelry. Although I'm not very good at updating my Ravelry notes and projects. I start off with good intentions and then seem to get waylaid along the way and forget to update them. I've called my podcast The Grey Nomad Knits because I've just recently retired, and so has my husband John, and we've bought ourselves a little caravan. And in Australia, people who retire and buy themselves a caravan are called grey nomads. However, we won't be touring all around Australia in our van. We'll probably be mostly based here in WA and enjoying all that Western Australia has to offer. And you will have seen a few snapshots at the start of my video from a holiday we took just after Christmas, where we went down south to the Manjimup Walpole area of Western Australia with some beautiful coastlines, beautiful timber forests, and just a beautiful place to be. I haven't really got a very good place in my house to podcast because a lot of the rooms seem to not have very good light coming in. My beautiful daughters have just recently moved out of home, so I'm now getting a craft room. We have painted it and I shall try and insert some photos, although I'm not very good with technology. And we're just waiting now for the new carpet to go down, and then we can start putting the furniture back in, and I will have a much brighter space to do my future podcasts. The first thing I'd like to show you is a project that I finished a couple of years ago, and it was my pièce de résistance. I think I'll delete that bit. This project was my absolute fait accompli with all my knitting so far. I decided to do the Marie Wallin Fairisle blanket, the first one, and this is it here on the back of my chair. It was a 12-month project and it's very warm. It's done out of rowan felted tweed, probably too warm for our climate here in Western Australia. It's really very big. This corrugated rib took me forever because it's knit one, purl one like normal rib, but each stitch you change colour. Now, I haven't mastered the art of two-handed Fairisle knitting because I have a problem with this hand. You can see this finger's bent and it doesn't straighten, and it gets very, very sore when I'm knitting. Same on the other side, although this one doesn't get sore. And this is where the yarn would be held if I was holding wool in my left hand. So, it gets too painful, so I find it much easier for me just to drop and pick up the strands of yarn as I need them. But having said that, the border took a month. But I'm really pleased with how it turned out. There's a lot of memories in this blanket. This square here, just find it. It is. Which coincidentally was the most difficult square. This panel here I was doing when my dad passed away. There's another panel I was doing when my dog died. So there's a lot of precious memories in this blanket, and I'll never ever part with it. My daughter really wanted it. She's just bought herself a new apartment for the first time, and she really, really wanted it, but I said no. But there is a answer to that, which I will get to shortly. So, my whips. I tend to like things that challenge me, and I can blame Andrea Doig for that from the Fruity Knitting podcast, because until I started watching her podcast, I used to do very simple, plain, basic things. And then she introduced me to the wonders of Alice Starmore. So I had to, of course, buy the beautiful Tudor Roses book. And I was very lucky to get a hardcover, because when I look at them now on the internet, they're very, very expensive. But this definitely didn't cost me the price they are on the internet now. But you can get it in a soft cover for a much cheaper price. This book is based around a period of British history that I absolutely love. So I'm very excited to be knitting something out of this. And the project I'm doing is the Catherine Howard, poor lady who lost her head. I don't know if you can see that, it's such a big book. It's absolutely beautiful, and I don't think you can see it terribly well in that photograph, but it's very fitted in at the waist and has that lovely peplum design, and I just can't wait to finish it. So far, I started it, not Christmas just gone, the Christmas before that. So it's taken me so far over a year. But what I've got is the back piece. Of course, this has to be washed and blocked yet. And this is all done in intarsia, so it's not Fairisle. So you can see on the back that the strands are not carried over. I had a lot of ends to sew in, but I found that if I did them every 3 or 4 rows, it became much more manageable. So this is using Alice Starmore's, it's either the 3, I think it's the 2-ply Hebridean. And you can see this little, every so often you get these little bobbles of a different colour. It's basically 3 shades of blue. There's a navy, actually there's 4 shades. There's the navy, and then there's this one, and then the little bobbles are another colour again. I'll try and write them down for my next podcast so I can tell you what the colours are. I just love it. I can't wait to see it finished. I don't know how well it's going to look on my body shape, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. I've also finished the left front. So this will have a button band go on it here. And the right front. There's so many new techniques in this that I hadn't ever done before. This is the separate edging that was knitted separately, and then you had to put the edging on one needle and this section on another needle, then use a third needle to knit those 2 sections together. And then you had to fill in this middle piece here by picking up stitches from here as you went. That was very time consuming, I found, but once I got onto the main part, I found it started, and I got to know the pattern really well, I found it started to go a lot quicker. So now I'm doing the sleeves, and I'm in one big tangled mess here, as you might be able to see, because as I said, this is all done using intarsia and bobbins, not Fairisle. So what I've done is I've done both sleeves, and this is going to be hard to see because I'm all tangled. I don't bother untangling it till I'm about to start working on it. So this is actually done like a small version of the back. And now I've picked up all the stitches from this infill section, and I'm ready to just start working my way up the sleeve. And I've got that far with both sleeves, so I'm now going to put them both on the one needle and do them both at the same time, and hopefully it will progress a lot quicker. We're going to Tasmania on holidays in July, and it's going to be winter and it gets pretty cold over there in winter. I'd love to have this finished for then. So we'll see. I've got another project that I have a deadline for, which is the middle of June, which is going to take a lot more knitting yet, and I have to make that my priority. But then this will be my second priority after that. And then I was thinking, what am I going to wear with it when it's finished? So I thought I'd like to try and have a little skirt, not too flared or anything, because that just adds extra bulk to my body, which I don't need. So I went down to Spotlight yesterday. They were having a sale and they had 40% off their fabrics. And I got this lovely navy blue corduroy. And I think that's going to make a beautiful skirt. And I've seen a pattern that I like from Sew Over It. I'm sorry about the lighting in here. I've got my artificial lighting on and it's really not the best, but it's the best I can do at this stage. So when my craft dash sewing room is completed, this is going to be my first project, and then I'll have a nice skirt ready to wear with my beautiful Catherine Howard. Trust me, there have been moments when I've lost my head over this project, but I think it's going to be worth it in the long run. Okay, so then something else I've been doing, another difficult project, is out of this book, knitted lace of Estonia by Nancy Bush. Oh my goodness, if you've never seen any of her patterns, they are just absolutely beautiful. And I have made a couple of scarves which I've gifted over the years out of this book. But the pattern I'm doing is this one, which is the Queen Sylvia shawl. And it's absolutely beautiful with all these, I'm not sure if they're called noops or noops in the design. You have to really concentrate when you start something like this. And I did get up to about the second one and made a mistake, and I could not save it, so I had to rip the whole thing out and start again. But I'm glad I did. I don't even need a lifeline now. I've become so used to the pattern. And this is my beautiful KA knitting needles from the lovely One More Row. They're bamboo and they're absolutely beautiful to use with fingers that are dodgy with arthritis like mine. So this is what I've done so far. It does have a provisional cast on, and I must say I am dreading taking this off. But I shall take my time with it, and I'm sure it will be all right. It's a bit hard to see when it's squashed up on the needle, but hopefully you can get an idea of how the pattern's coming on. It's not really showing up terribly well. Is that better? I think that's a bit better if I stretch it out like that. It's absolutely beautiful design. It has these little like bullseye things at the end of the pattern repeat, which are just lovely. It's really hard to see them here. There's one there and one there. So I'm really enjoying that. Once I finish all the repeats, it then gets a border, and I'm not sure how that gets worked yet. A border gets picked up all around it. Well, I think you knit the border on this end, then you pick up the stitches from here and knit it in the other direction, the border for that end. Then I'm not sure how you do the side borders. But I think this is going to be lovely. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it for myself or gift it. It would be lovely for our climate here in Perth. We have a very mild climate. So something like this, if you're going out to a restaurant in the summer when air conditioning often gets pumped up a bit high, something like this around your shoulders would be just perfect. I'm knitting that out of Morris & Sons Empire 2-ply. Morris & Sons is a shop that we have here in Australia on the other side of the country to me. They're in Sydney and Melbourne, and we often go to Sydney for a few days. And my husband loves to collect toy soldiers, and there's a shop in Sydney in the Queen Victoria building that sells them. So I leave him here. I leave him there to chat to the fellows in the shop. He loves that. And I go around the corner to Morris & Sons. And I'd had this sitting in my stash for quite some time. I thought it was time to get it out and use it. The colour is called French Grey, so it's just a very, very soft grey. I think that's going to be really lovely when it's finished, as long as I don't mess up that provisional cast on. The next thing I would like to show you is my Christmas night cast on. I love that Danny from the Little Bobbins podcast does her Christmas Eve cast on, but I can never do a new cast on Christmas Eve because I'm always at my sister's house and we're always in full swing in party mode, and it wouldn't be a good time to cast anything on. On Christmas Day, we always spend the middle part of the day with our families. Our family's not terribly big, so we just have a quiet, intimate get-together at lunch, usually here, but this year we had it at my daughter's new place. And then in the evening, we're on our own again, and that's when it's time for me to sit and put my feet up, and I always treat myself to a new cast on. Last Christmas it was the Catherine Howard, and this year it was the Softly cardigan. Now I'm going to really butcher this name. I'll try and remember to put it on the screen. By Hanna Maciejewska. I'm not sure. It's a reverse stocking stitch cardigan with this lovely lace detail on the back, and then this is the start of a border that comes down the front on the edges on the front as well, using the same stitch as this. I love the length of it. I love that it's like an A-line. I absolutely love everything about it. And the yarn, I can't tell you how much I love it. I don't know what other countries call the fluoro vests that a lot of the workmen wear. Here in Australia we call them high-vis jackets. So I'm calling this my high-vis cardigan. This yarn is just absolutely glorious. It's actually a little bit more orangey than it's showing on this picture. This is jumbuck yarn from our very own Peter at Dingo Dye Works here in Western Australia. She is just the most amazing artisan. I just can't tell you how clever she is at yarn dyeing and her instinct for colour. This one is called Coolgardie. Coolgardie is a gold mining town in Western Australia, not far from Kalgoorlie. And she dyed this to represent the gold in the earth. I actually think it's an exact replica of the colour of our West Australian Christmas trees, and I can't photograph you any because they've all gone out of bloom at the moment, but I absolutely love it. There are some dark flecks in there which tone it down a bit. And I started this while we were away in our, I started on Christmas night, and then 2 days later we went away in our caravan. So I got a good bit of this done there. It's done from the top down. You start at the collar, and it's quite an interesting construction, the way you do it. So this is the front panel. This is the armhole here. And you can see that the lovely lace border comes down the edges. So I won't have to do an extra border edge stitch or anything for a button band or anything. It's just a loose cardigan. And this is the other side. Left front. You can see it's reverse stocking stitch, which I wasn't sure about, but I'm actually really loving it. And if I turn it around, there's the lace back, which will hopefully stretch out really nicely, which then goes down to just a few lace panels and then down to just plain reverse stocking stitch. And that'll go all the way down to the band, where I think this pattern comes back in on the band. It is so soft, so beautiful. I absolutely love it. It's fingering weight yarn, which for a Perth winter is absolutely perfect. But I can't work on it too much at the moment because I have something else I have to prioritise. But I just wanted to show you my beautiful project bag that I'm housing that project in. Now, here in Western Australia, well, here in Australia, we have our footy season in winter, and footy is football, and in Australia when we refer to the footy and football, we're referring not to soccer, but to Australian rules footy. And although I'm a sort of person that gets a bit cranky sometimes about the amount of money that our government spends on sport in this country, whereas things like the arts fields seem to me to be largely neglected, I still love my footy. And I love my West Australian footy team, the West Coast Eagles. And people in my knitting group are going to hate me for this because they like the opposition team. And last year, our wonderful West Coast Eagles won the premiership. They won the flag. So I sent a couple of photos off to this lovely lady in America called Anne Brody from the Silver Shed, USA. And she transfers your photographs onto fabric and makes bags. Look at this. This is my 2018 premiership bag. There's the cup. This is all the glitter that they pump out at the end. And then I've got on the other side the coach and the captain both holding up the cup. It was such an exciting time. I had a friend over from work and we watched it together on the big telly in my lounge room, because it's always held in Victoria, which is on the other side of the country to us. We had a great day. It was so exciting. It was also the weekend that I finished up work, and I did something a bit naughty at the start of that year. One of the Eastern States Victorian commentators had said that this team, the West Coast Eagles, didn't have a chance of getting into the finals, let alone winning the premiership, and they were probably going to win the wooden spoon. And I thought, well, I'll show you. So I took out, I was still working then, a $100 bet on them to win the flag at 33-1. So I came out with a nice little bit of winnings. So as it was my last week at work, I finished work on the Friday, had grand final day on the Saturday, and on the Sunday I was able to treat my lovely work colleagues to a beautiful high tea. which I was able to pay for courtesy of Sportsbet. I'll probably never ever do that again. I'm certainly not a gambler. I was just so angry when the Victorian commentator had said that. So it was a great, exciting day, and now I've got this lovely bag to remember it by, and my beautiful cardigan, which is almost a West Coast Eagles yellow, to go in it. So that's that one. Now, I've also started getting a love for crochet, mainly because I've been following Lucy from the Attic 24 blog. She is amazing, and the way she can put colours together, it just blows my mind. And her blankets are always free patterns available on her website, and you can buy the yarn in packs from a shop in the UK, an online shop. I've got it from Wool Warehouse, and they are so reasonable. It's acrylic, but for blankets, it's perfect because it means I can put one outside here on my lovely swing seat outside, and I can put one out on my outdoor furniture, and I only have to bring them in when the weather starts to get bad, and I won't have to worry about the moths getting to them or the bugs. This is what I've done so far. I'm absolutely loving it. And this Stylecraft Special DK yarn, it is so soft. This latest one she's done is called the Sweet Pea Blanket. It's actually a crochet along, but I'm way behind because I have another project, as I said, that I have a deadline for. But this is it. This trellis stitch pattern is on her website, and it's free. And she tells you all the colours you can use and different arrangements of the colours. This one's called the Colour Wash, and I just love it. And it's gone from the greens to the first start of the sweet pea blooms to the pale sweet pea blooms, and now it's going into the deeper colours. I can only do 2 stripes a day because my fingers get too sore, but it's such a lovely project. I'm really, really enjoying it. And when we redecorate our youngest daughter's bedroom, because she has also just moved, this is going to go on the bed in that room. So I'm really, really enjoying that. And what I like about doing a repetitive stitch so much is, for a beginner at crochet, I'm not like Andrea, who tackles one of the most difficult looking projects ever for her first project. I have to start with something simple and repetitive so it sinks in. But I'm really enjoying that. Now, my last project I want to show you today is my secret knitting project, and my eldest daughter, who's, I said, just bought her first apartment, and she really wanted my Marie Wallin blanket. But as I said, I can't part with that one. Then Marie Wallin put out a second Fairisle Club, which I bought when it came out to put away for the day when Michelle finally got her own place. Well, that day has come. So I'm working on this, but she is coming around this afternoon, so I'm going to have to pack it up very soon. So it's another Fairisle blanket. This one's done without, there's only one seam between the first square and the second rectangle. The rest is all picked up stitches or stitches left on hold. I'm not going to be able to show it very well here. That was the first square. Then this is the only seam, this little one here, in the whole blanket. The rest is all stitches have been put on waste yarn, or you pick them up. And I'm just loving how it's turning out. Her birthday's in the middle of June, and this is what she's getting for her birthday. So it's taking longer and longer now because the panels, like, I'm getting up to 300 and 400 stitches on each one. This is the start of panel number 7, which I just started yesterday. I think there's about 40 or 50 rows in this panel. So it's a bit hard to show you, but I'll just do my best. It's going to look lovely in her unit. She's got a pale grey vintage style sofa, so it's going to look very nice on the back of that. And that's using the Rowan felted tweed. And now Marie Wallin's going to bring out another one probably later this year, and I don't know how a girl is supposed to resist, especially as I was trying not to buy any yarn this year. But anyway, we shall see. So that's it for my works in progress, and over the next few months, probably all most of the progress you're going to see is on that blanket, because I do want to get it finished without having to stress about it. Another thing I want to stay accountable for now is my fitness level, because I'm very sedentary. I'm getting terrible arthritis and I need to do something about it. I'm going to see a specialist next week about my fingers, because I also play the piano and I don't want my fingers to get so sore that it stops me doing all the things I like to do. I also have problems with my knees and my feet. So I've started doing aqua exercises in the pool. So I'm going there 3 times a week, and it's pretty high intensity actually. I'm amazed how much of your muscles that you do use, and how much of a sweat you work up while you're in the water. So I'm starting with that. I'm cutting down drastically my portions in what I eat and trying to conquer my sweet tooth. And as it's a bit warm at the moment here, but when the weather starts to cool down, I'm going to start with hubby going out for some nice walks along the beach. We have a beautiful coastline, just a few minutes drive from our place. So I've got all that in the go, and I thought I'll stay accountable on here as well. So I weighed myself this morning, and then in a couple of weeks when I podcast again, I'll let you know how my progress is going. So that's about it, I think, for today. We're hoping to get away in our caravan sometime soon. My husband's down south at the moment, in the area where my initial photos were taken. He's helping a friend down there to build a holiday house, and he'll be back tonight. And then he may be doing a bit of overseas work, so we're not sure when we can get away again in our caravan, but I'm certainly looking forward to when we do. We're also going away in July, like I mentioned. We're going to go and have a week with my youngest daughter in Queensland. She moved to Brisbane last year. And then we're going to have 4 or 5 days in Sydney, where John will spend time at the toy soldier shop. And I'm going to find my way out to Skane Sisters, which has got to be the best wool shop in Australia. So, and then after that we're going down to Tasmania for 2 weeks, because I'm actually from Tasmania. I moved to Perth with my parents when I was 15. So we're going to go down and have a couple of weeks staying with my brother and his wife. So that's going to be a really nice break, and just crossing our fingers that John's parents stay healthy. His mum's not very well. She's in a nursing home with very, very advanced dementia, and his dad is becoming very frail with the worry, and I don't know, I think he feels guilty if he goes out and enjoys himself, and he's not eating very well, and he's not very well himself. So our holiday plans are going to depend on how he is, but hopefully we'll get away and have a lovely time. I'm not sure how often I'll podcast, because there won't be a lot of progress to show on everything, but I have a few dream projects that I'd like to talk about, so I'll save that for next time. And yeah, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and happy knitting, everyone. Bye.